All right. I'm going to let you tell us how to pronounce your name. So the caller from Brighton in the UK, how should we address you?
That's Laughton.
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 Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Laughton, if you like.
I do like. What did you want to call about?
It's quite interesting that I'm just following Landon, because I'm in not a similar position, but I would describe myself as a theist, but I'm not. I wouldn't put my name against any particular religion. And I think it's a position that a lot of people hold, but seems to be almost ignored in discussions like this or in media in general. And I was just sort of interested in what your thoughts were, and also what your general thoughts are about my apparent wishy-washy position of, I believe in something, but I don't know what it is.
So the short version said that you describe yourself as an agnostic theist, which, by the way, I would say most theists, even Christians, that I talk to, when you get down to brass tacks, would identify as an agnostic theist. Some of them would claim that they're Gnostic. And so the first questions that I was going to have for you, you kind of answered in the last couple of seconds, because I was going to say, okay, I know you're not necessarily putting a name of Yahweh or Christianity or whatever else, but I was going to say, what are the characteristics of the God you believe in, and how did you arrive that those are the characteristics? But it seems that you're saying you don't even know the characteristics of the thing you believe, and I don't know how that's possible. So when you say you believe something, but you don't know what it is, could you say with any specificity what it is that you believe? Like, I believe there's a governing thinking agent.
I think that I'm trying to be absolutely honest with you and absolutely honest with myself, that I'll go to the very beginning. When I was 16, I was in a very serious accident, and I had the traditional, almost typical near-death experience. I had the tunnel, I had the family, I had somebody else who at the time I thought was Jesus or Christ or that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So that is what I think keeps me in my theist position. I can't deny that to myself. So I've got that, but also there's there seems to be an agency to life.
Let's not jump ahead to that. If you've got multiple examples, let's take them one at a time. So you had a near-death experience. I just want to make sure I heard the details right, where you saw your family, a figure that you associate with Christ. Was there something else?
The classic tunnel that people describe. I was 16 at the time, and I was sort of not very religious, but I was sort of brought up as a Christian. So if I was going to see any religious figure, I suppose it would have been a Christ-like figure.
But if you were going to see any figure, it was going to be a Christ-like figure. Does that suggest to you that you had a near-death experience with an actual Christ, or that in a near-death experience you visualized a Christ? Because what you just said sort of implies that if you'd been raised Muslim, maybe you would have seen somebody else. If you'd been raised Hindu, maybe it would have been somebody else.
Yeah, like I say, I'm trying to be as honest with you as possible and honest with yourself as possible, and I think that could be the case, which is where I'm at. Which is why I'm at where I am in my journey at the moment. That to sum it up, I believe in something, but I can't tell you. I can't even tell myself what it is.
Can you? Okay, so that's the sentence that I want to focus on. You believe in something, but you don't know what it is. Yeah. Is there anything about this something that you can describe? Like, the something I believe is definitely conscious, or definitely governing the universe, or definitely created the universe, or without any characteristic, without any quality. I don't know what it means to say I believe in something, but I don't know what it is, because even for the things that I don't understand fully, like let's say I'm not convinced that a multiverse exists, but I could completely understand someone saying, I'm convinced that some sort of multiverse exists that is the source of our universe, but I don't have any details about it other than it's the source of that universe. But I don't know how to deal with somebody saying, I believe in something, but I don't know what it is, because that's literally every possibility. That's a god and not a god. Well, if it turns out the thing that you believe in is not a god, well, we might believe it.
Well, yeah, sorry to bring you into my problems, but yeah, that's pretty much how I feel. It's just something that I do believe in quite strongly, that there is something. Like I said, I feel there's an agency.
Sorry, because we're getting to the same problem, just saying something. So let me ask a couple of direct questions about the something.
Sure.
Going back to the near-death experience, right? You believe that there is some explanation for it. You don't currently know what the explanation is. That's true?
Yeah.
Is one of the explanations which you entertain, is one of the things that it could be a totally natural explanation where you have something that is essentially a type of dream when you're in this near-death state?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's quite well documented, isn't it? That when the brain shuts down, there's neurons firing, and
so you entertain.
Like
you definitely entertain natural explanations. Do you also entertain a supernatural explanation for that?
Yes.
Why?
I think that is where it is. That is what I feel, but I really believe that. But there's no way that I want or expect you to believe it as well, because it was such a personal experience. But because it felt so real at the time, that I can't. And I have tried to sort of say, oh, it's just neurons firing and that, but I can't accept that myself, if that makes any sense at all.
So you're not. So I sounds to me like you're saying that you're convinced that it's supernatural because you're not convinced that this could be just natural.
No. I think what I'm saying is that I don't want to close that particular door.
Okay, not closing a door, not closing. So saying I don't want to rule something out is not the same as saying I'm going to rule that in. Like, I haven't ruled out the supernatural. I have no belief that there's anything supernatural. As a matter of fact, I actively believe that the supernatural is almost certainly not the case, but I haven't ruled it out. If somebody can present evidence for the supernatural, I'm in. So I've heard this from many people, and I'm hoping maybe Laughton, you can be the one that ties this together. When you say that you think there's something more than the natural because you don't want to rule that out, how is that functionally different from saying I don't want to rule out magic because I can't, and because I can't, I'm going to go ahead and believe that it's possible, and because it's possible, I'm going to believe that it's probable. It's like this slippery slope of I can't prove it's not magic, so I'm going to go ahead and descend into thinking, yeah, it might be magic.
I actually think, Laughton, I think I might understand. I'm going to steal Matt's metaphor just now and ask you if this is what you're saying. Imagine a person, anybody, you've got a 15-year-old who is having a magic trick done for them, and the magic trick is to make a rabbit in front of them first disappear, then reappear, and then it turns into a greyhound. All right, so it's a really cool, it would be a very complex trick to pull off, and it's done very up close, and it seems impossible. And that 15-year-old watches that trick, and it is never explained to that 15-year-old how the trick is done. But because they were there and they saw it so up close, and it felt so significant, and it felt like if any sort of sleight of hand was afoot, there's no way something that big and that important could have been done just as a natural matter of illusion. And so that 15-year-old says, I am not going to say that it isn't actual magic. And in fact, it seems so improbable to me because of what a big deal it was to me that it isn't magic, that I'm going to actually leave. Basically, I'm going to sit in the camp of, I actually think it probably was magic and I can't let it go that it wasn't. Is that where you are with your near-death experience? Did it feel so big and important to you that you can't let the metaphorical magic of it go because it feels larger than what you understand natural explanations have?
I think so, but also, like I say, I was brought up a Christian, and very, religion wasn't really spoken about much in my family, but in Britain here, when I was growing up, we had school assemblies and, singing religious songs every day. So there's also the fact that there's a feeling, it's almost a Pascal's wager thing, if you like, that I feel like maybe, I've got to lead a life where I feel that there is something maybe watching over me. But having said that, I don't know what it is. Sorry, I keep saying that, and it's not getting us very further, but that's how
earlier you were going to give us another example after the near-death experience. Do you want to go ahead and give us that now?
Yeah, it's just the general sort of feeling of that there is agency, and I know as human beings we are designed to see patterns, and it just feels like I should be here now for this reason. It feels like there is something guiding. There's that there is that side of things as well.
So I'll be honest with you. I think you said it was Laughton. Am I getting it right?
Laughton.
Laughton. I'm going to say it the way you want it said. I'm going to be honest with you. I think what you're saying boils down to, I can't let go of the magic because it means too much to me. I can't, and that I have a level of incredulousness that incredulity feels better explained by magic I can't account for than the possibility that there are just answers that might still be complex and huge and beautiful, but because it wouldn't be as cool as living in a world with that magic. And I don't mean to use the word in a condescending way. I know some religious people don't like it being called magic, but that I don't want to live in the world where I'm not feeling like I'm interacting with magic. And it's very much seems like that's what's at play. You can disagree with me if you like. If you agree, I want to know if you would accept somebody else's belief on that same basis.
Right, a couple of things there is, if I'm honest, I don't really want there to be magic. I'd like to be firm in my belief that there is nothing after we die, and that's it, and then that we just fall asleep and forever. That I'd be happy with that.
I get that, and I don't actually think that's the thing that we're addressing. I think we're addressing your discomfort with the unknown and the I don't knows, and that you're more comfortable adding magic to an I don't know than leaving an I don't know that seems appropriate. Like your near-death experience, you even mentioned it's pretty well documented. You got neurons firing, that people are having dreams that in those states people aren't dead. There's dead and then there's dead. And it does sound like to me that it's a discomfort with an unknown and an I don't know. And I just don't know why you would take it's just like this week on Threads. And Matt, I bet you've had the exact same experience as me, and probably also on Twitter. How many people have been interacting with the word unidentified this week to mean aliens exist and the government confirmed it? Because the answer of unidentified means aliens exist is way cooler and way more exciting and gives you a sense of mystery and magic. And this week it's been driving me crazy when actually people I like and respect have been acting as though the government has confirmed aliens exist.
I have questions related to this. I don't want to try to get into Laughton's motivations or anybody else's until we figure out and we can speculate. Laughton said something a minute ago where he said something to the tune of, it just feels like there's somebody guiding this and there's a purpose. What can you describe that? I know it's difficult. I have no idea what that feeling feels like.
Yeah.
And so, if somebody tells me, hey, I feel itchy. Okay, that I get. I feel like I'm being watched. Okay, that I can get. When somebody says it feels like there's a guiding intelligence guiding my life, I have no idea what that feels like. And if you can't describe it, that's fine. I'm just wondering if you have any description for that and how you could tell the difference between something feels like somebody's guiding my life and something when nobody is, and it feels like somebody's guiding my life when somebody actually is. Because if I can't tell the difference between those two, then they're functionally identical. But I don't know what the feeling feels like.
No, and it's not something that I could really describe to you, I don't think.
Okay.
It's just
then skip the ineffable part, and let's say you have a feeling that somebody's guiding your life and you're correct, and you have a feeling that somebody's guiding your life and you're incorrect. What method could you or anybody else use to tell the difference between those situations?
I don't think there is a way.
So then that would seem to be an admission that you have no good reason to think you're correct, and that you being correct is at least as likely as you being incorrect from the evidence that you have. And so if there's no I get, I'm not expecting you to go, aha, what a brilliant thing, and now I stop. I'm of the position that once I realize I can't tell the difference between two things, I no longer have the ability to pick between them.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think it is I'm going to use the door analogy again. The near-death experience was so strong, the feeling inside me is so strong, I'm not going to say I don't believe there's a God, or not a God, a deity, whatever. We could be in a vat, I'm open to that as well.
But will you, as a result of that, say, I do believe there is a God?
At the moment, I would say yes. I believe there's something.
So weirdly, the thing you just said is, here's something that comes up over and over again. You just said that because the experience, or your near-death experience, was so strong, you can't say that you don't believe in a God. I'm wondering if the truth, and I'm not suggesting, when I say the truth, I'm not suggesting you're being dishonest. I can understand saying, I had an experience and it was so impactful that it's impossible for me right now to say there is no God. But that's a different statement. Saying there is no God is different from saying I don't believe that a God exists. What would be the problem of saying I am not convinced that a God exists? Because that to me seems to be an accurate description that you have your thoughts. You recognize you don't have evidence for it. You recognize you don't have a way of telling the difference between whether or not you're correct. And so I would have to say that you do not believe that a God exists. And what you're unwilling to say, which is fine, is that you believe there is no God. But nobody's asking you to say that. Or at least I'm not. What's wrong with saying I'm not convinced that a God exists?
Sorry, can you say that again? What
would be the problem with you, with your experience, saying, I am not convinced that a God exists?
I don't know. It's the honest answer to that.
Cool.
based on the, what I've evidenced in my life, like I say, the almost the agency I feel, and the death. I can't say that. So at the moment, I believe a God something exists, but it's a very thin line. I could be nudged the other side of that line and maybe see it from a slightly different point of view. And functionally in my life, I don't think it affects the way I lead my life.
Okay. I don't know that I have anything to add other right now, other than to keep thinking, because it's a source of frustration for me to watch someone say, I don't have any way of telling the difference between whether this claim is true or not true, but I don't want to say that I'm not convinced that it's true, when they don't also say, I don't want to say that I'm not convinced it's false. It is clear that you are leaning towards one of two options while acknowledging that you have no reason to lean towards either of them. And I would argue that a reasonable evaluation of all of the evidence gives anyone a reason to lean against the notion of a God existing. The fact that we know things about how the brain works, we know things about near-death experiences, we know what religious iconography people are likely to see based on what they're raised with and what religion they're in at the time or what religions they've heard about, that the concept of a soul is, as I've said, the single most dead concept ever, that this stuff doesn't make sense. And if it were true, it would be absolutely unimportant, because it means that there's a being that gave you an experience you don't understand, but fails to give you evidence to warrant believing that he exists. And any being who will not give you sufficient evidence that they exist cannot count your belief in their existence as something substantive and worth evaluating. So it's like, you think there's a God there, but he's just fucking with you. And that's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, but I mean, that could be what God's like.
Laughton,
Just exist to fuck with people.
On the off chance that you're somewhat like me and it would be useful, I think the last thing I'm going to do is just share a couple of terms with you that I don't know how familiar you are with fallacies, but it was useful when I was going through my own stuff to learn what these things were and then see how I might be applying them to myself. There's a fallacy called the argument from incredulity that I think would be useful for you. And then regarding your agency argument, I think the learning about confirmation bias is going to be something very useful to you, because it kind of reminds me of the way that believers treat mundane hopes being accomplished as though they've won a lottery and ignore all the times that their hopes didn't come to fruition. Sort of the agency stuff you were talking about. So if I can give you some homework before maybe we have another conversation about this in the future, I would say look up those two things, arguments from incredulity, and which I think is related to your attachment to your near-death experience, and confirmation bias, which I think is related to your agency deal.
Yeah, I do understand both of those terms, but I will look into it more, and hopefully we can talk again.
Yeah, it's definitely good to learn about them more than just a headline. They are things that there should be entire classes dedicated to, and we should probably make kids take those classes.
Totally agree with that.
Sure.
Okay, well, thank you. It's great talking to you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks a lot, Laughton.
Cheers. Bye.
Everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Jimmy Snow. I'm the executive producer of The Line, and at night I sneak into Matt Dillahunty's house and I trade his cereals for other cereals. He comes out and he's like, wait, these are cereals I buy, but I swear I had different cereals. Anyway, would you like to support this channel or any specific show? You can do so over on Patreon or in channel memberships. There are special tiers for special shows or for the channel at large, and it helps us expand programming as well as hopefully very soon launch it in podcast form. Now, also, if you'd like to support, you can like, you can subscribe, you can leave a comment or a super thanks, which is a special highlighted comment that you pay for. Those are fun. And, screw the algorithm, go check out something over here, I suppose. Boy, I hope I can still put those icons there, because if I can't, this is going to look really stupid.
I'm going to go buy some Cocoa Puffs and switch out Matt's mini wheats now.